Yeah, yeah, it totally is. But of course, I don't think this is about leverage. This is about them wanting a European League, and I wouldn't be surprised that they ultimately want this to be, a weekend game. They want, there
I
to be
think
a proper European League to be played at weekends.
I
They
think they've
don't
gone
care
too
about the
far with
rest of
this
the
as well.
football, do they?
I think they've gone too far with it as well, just for it to be an idle threat, just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
try and get a bit of leverage. They've withdrawn from the European Clubs Association, all of them this afternoon.
yep,
They've clearly spent shitloads of money in during a time when there's been a global pandemic and no money's been coming in through the gates.
that's right. They want
A
the money
lot of
back.
time and money has been invested in this. So,
Mm,
it wouldn't surprise me if it cost them, you know, over £10 million each,
yeah,
employing, various advisors and coordinating everything. This isn't done over the course of 3 or 4 months. This has been ongoing for years, and no
yep.
doubt they've tapped up every big club in Europe. And well, there's been talk about a European Super League for years, but I'm surprised something wasn't released or there was a mole that you know
Well, there was
now.
something a couple of months ago, wasn't there, that they tested the water with, and that there was a lot of outrage, but it was nothing as firm as this. And now they've come out with the firm plan. Sorry, Carl, you were going to say?
I think it's been in the offing for a couple of years under the
Yeah,
bonnet, and as you can imagine, as you say, I mean, they'll have been tapping clubs up for it, and maybe one way or another. I mean, we're the 10th biggest club in the world on income or something like that. I
yeah,
think all the stats show for kind of all the detraction that Spurs and to be fair, Arsenal have had today, but. I agree with all the points being made that actually that they would be damned if they do, damned if they don't. But the club have negotiated their way to that table. I think it's just that the sheer concept of it that is
mm,
just sort of so troubling. But
it is.
the proof will be in the pudding. If this goes ahead in 5 years, 10 years from now, they're still filling stadiums because, I think it's that thing of we support a football team and we've grown up with a football team, but that's now a multi. It's a corporation, isn't it? And I get a couple of emails a day from Tottenham, and it doesn't matter what the results been. I get 30% off the shop, and I get wear your colours at home, and
Yeah,
all. And you just kind of think that is a tone deaf marketing company that is just
yeah.
powering
They
through. It
just don't
doesn't
care.
matter. No,
Uh,
and clearly working with enough numbers that they don't have to care. To be honest, they can
yeah,
release a mug with Carabao Cup finalists on it, and there are enough mug punters out there who will.
yeah.
I heard it after I said it. There are enough mug punters out there who will go and buy that piece of tap, and that keeps
Mm,
it going through, and
mm,
that's what the football club's become. We're an adventure centre in London now with a route. And don't get me wrong, I think the stadium, as much as I miss White Hart Lane, that stadium is absolutely gobsmacking and an amazing
yeah,
place to watch football. And I'm sure there's many, many memories to be made there for all of us still to come. But
yeah.
actually, you just think how many times they push that bloody skywalk and then go, oh yeah, this is not, the football is a sideshow to all this other stuff, this theme park that's been built.
Yeah.
Have you
Well,
done
it
Have you
is.
done the Skywalk, Carl?
Not yet. I've done the stadium tour, but not the skywalk. I'd
Do,
like to.
do, I don't work for the company. I don't work for the club. But do the Skywalk. It is actually fucking blinding. It is very good.
Yeah, it's a good laugh.
it's,
Yeah,
it's, it's worth all the marketing that they're pushing at it.
it is
I have to
impressive,
say,
isn't it?
I
Yeah.
won't be abseiling, but I did do the Skywalk. But yeah.
Mm, yeah, it is pretty high up there. Yeah.
So we're gonna bother talking about Mourinho getting sacked or not? His replacements.
For
Who
me,
do we want as a replacement?
I just feel that it was inevitable. I think we all feel like that. But of course, as you just said, it's kind of who's the next person, who's going to take over from this caretaker role that Mason's covering at the moment. But I don't know. I keep hearing Nagelsmann, but has anybody else heard any other rumours?
Oh,
That's the
not
only thing
rumours. I mean, sorry, go on, Simon.
no. I mean, that's the only thing that's the only thing I've heard, and I think people seem quite favourable to that. But no, nothing else has been really banded around.
Yeah.
There's obviously there's a couple of other names, which are kind of the sort of the ones that you'd expect to hear. You know, not quite Allardyce, because obviously he's got a job at the minute. But you know, there's the usual suspects, which you kind of go, yeah, probably not. You know, Brendan Rodgers, stuff like that, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you take Brendan Rodgers? Would you not have? I would love Brendan Rodgers. I would love Brendan Rodgers above Nagelsmann. I was talking to my son about this earlier, and we were talking about. And he's going, well, I've heard it's Nagelsmann, and you know, and I've heard Eddie Howe's been mentioned. I went, what about Brendan Rodgers? He went, oh no. I went, why? I said, what's he done? I went, Celtic. He won everything with Celtic. Liverpool were a Gerrard slip away from winning the league.
And they played great
fantastic football.
Yeah,
exactly. Leicester play fantastic football. You listen to Maddison and post interviews, and he talks about the structure of the training and how they train for tactics and all of that. I'd love Rodgers there, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of talk about who the new manager might be, but I think personally, it doesn't matter who the next manager is really. I think we've got bigger problems behind the scenes, and until we shake up our scouting team, we've obviously got Steve Hitchin. I mean, I've said on the pod before that, you know, we're the sort of club that will, you know, go shopping, window shopping in Waitrose, and, you know, they'll go, oh, I like a bit of this or I like a bit of that. Then go into Lidl and go, hang on, well, this looks exactly the fucking same. It looks the same. Let's just buy it from Lidl because it's a lot cheaper, and it always turns out shit when you eat it.
Basically, you're not in favour of Colin the Caterpillar. You're Cuthbert all the way.
Yeah, I'm partial to a bit of Colin. You know, that's always the birthday cake in work.
Is it
the go-to birthday cake? Yeah, a bit of Colin the Caterpillar. But the problem with Colin the Caterpillar is, do you start with his head or do you start at his arse? You know, that is the key. That is the key question. But I think just
too much information.
I think just
I was just making a joke. I really didn't expect it to go this way. I'm so sorry.
I think just going back to the whole manager thing, I think the next manager that comes in, I mean, this is where we were wooed by Mourinho in the first place. I think we obviously first discussed this on the pod when he was first appointed. And, you know, he made noises previously. You know, he was out of football for nearly a year or so, and was interviewed on Sky Sports and beIN Sports and this and that, and going, the next club I go to, blah, 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 it's going to be in a place where I know that their vision meets my vision, that the resources are there. And then he went into Spurs, and you're thinking, fucking hell, he must have had that conversation with Levy. Levy's going to finally back him and put a bit of money in there. He did put a bit of money in, but, you know, we just buy substandard players, and that's something that's gone on for far too long at the club.
So I still think that's a hindsight thing. You know, we're saying they're substandard players now, but we didn't at the time. I don't, unless you're going to call out at the time that those transfers are announced, right? Fuck you, they're substandard players. Then you don't say it like after the event because Mourinho executed poorly. I think, everyone was happy at the time. I didn't hear anyone.
Well, I'd never seen Bergwijn play before. Wasn't particularly excited about him. Didn't really know anything.
Bergwijn was before Mourinho. I'm talking. Bergwijn was already arranged before Mourinho. It was sealed. Yeah, it was already arranged before Mourinho. It was sealed when Mourinho came in. But it was already arranged before Mourinho. Mourinho even stated that himself. So
hold on.
Okay.
You know, you're telling me that 90% of the players we buy, you don't go on YouTube to find a show reel because you know absolutely fuck all about them. We sign a player and we're like, who the fuck's he? He plays for a top team, never seen him play. And everyone jumps onto YouTube and sees a show reel of him for 2 or 3 minutes where they never make a mistake. And you think, fucking hell, he's amazing, because they've taken, 25 clips, 5-second clips over 50 games where they look absolutely fucking world class. And this comes back to the Danny Rose and Googling again. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of Danny Rose has done over the last couple of years, but to a certain extent, why the fuck am I agreeing with Danny Rose? What's going on with me? It must be the lack of electricity in this house.
Carl,
I mean, I think something's been going wrong in terms of Pochettino alluded to it a few times, didn't he? In terms of I'm not getting to select the players. So for every Colin Caterpillar, there's Bruno Fernandes, there's a Gedson Fernandes, isn't there? So I think, and while we did, I mean, we went through a phase where we were bringing players like Dele Alli through. I'll always say as well, for any slack that can be cut for us for moving into a stadium, we just happened to be bringing one of the greatest players in the club's history through the youth academy, which was, let's face it, a pretty big touch for Enick and co. But I think you look at the players who Pochettino wanted to bring in Bruno Fernandes. There was talk of Grealish and a deal being done. I mean, what we'd offered Josh Onoma and $3 million or something for Jack Grealish or whatever the story goes. So I do think there's been that lack of ambition, and there are certain periods where we had that opportunity to push on and didn't seem to. And yeah, it does. That we've had more misses than hits, haven't we, in the transfer window in the past sort of 10 years? And something you've got to ask questions when a team like Leicester City on what quarter of the budget that we're working on can pluck these players out. Where do you find N'Golo Kante and Riyad Mahrez? They're not hiding. So a club of our size, that recruitment has been poor for a while.
It's shambles. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big issue. Yeah.
I think just the one thing I'd add to that, Carl, is that Leicester have got a great scouting system and they brought through some really good players, but players like Fofana, for example.
Yeah.
If we were linked with Fofana, I think we've said this on the pod before, but if we were linked with Fofana and it was going in the media and everything, Twitter would be in meltdown and go, "Who the hell is this guy? He's not good enough for us. We're aiming for top 4." You know what I mean? He's not never heard of him. So and that actually does go back to Jamie's point that Danny Rose said about Googling players. I'd never heard of Fofana. I'd never heard of a number of the players that they brought in. Mahrez we hadn't heard of before. I hadn't heard of anyway.
Or Kante.
Or Kante before they rocked up there. And Soyuncu, never heard of him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Top players. So it's more than just the scouting. I think there's more to it than that. I think it's good profile and they do their homework and they have a good profile, I think. So yeah.
Sarah?
I mean, I agree with you, Steve, but what I will say is that, as a Leicester fan now, when you hear those sort of names linked, you probably get a little bit excited thinking, oh, what sort of gem have we got here? Whereas, whenever we go and try and find a gem, it seems to come up a turd, It's not really a gem at all. And I think, as a fan base, if we were getting, I don't know, say we were signing 3 players in a window and we were getting one really good player that immediately improved the squad, and we were getting one that will get, every third game against a lower level team that we think they can handle it and they're going to build into the club a bit like Rodon, we'd be fine with it. And then if we got an unknown that every now and then turned out to be a Dele Alli, for God's sake, we'd be well happy. But at the moment, the last really good player we signed was, I think it's a bit unfair to write off the players that we bought this season just yet, because I think Mourinho is a whole different ballgame. But looking back, the only one that comes to my mind is probably Lo Celso, and before that Dele Alli, really. So we haven't got a good track record, but we also haven't got patience because we're so used to bargain basement shopping and coming out with shit that we haven't got the patience. But if I was a Leicester fan, I'd be like, wait, we must have a gem here because our network.
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot to it, and I think I think it was Mitchell that left, was it? Because he wasn't getting his targets and being made to look like a bloody idiot, being in charge of someone who didn't want to actually follow through with the work he's doing. So
he had a black box, so surely that was going to do all the work.
Yeah, I just think
Sorry, so can we use that as a title? Then you can't polish a turd.
Yeah, I think we should, because that's what Daniel Levy is constantly trying to do.
I think that sums up so much of what's happened in the last 24 hours. Yeah.
Oh dear.
So
I'm just looking forward to Sunday now. Sorry, I'm just going to say I'm just really looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah,
We've absolutely got nothing to lose, and you know what? If we lose, I feel like we're going to have tried a bit harder than we maybe looked like we were trying in previous games. And I think if we win, then I'm well happy for Ryan, well happy for Ledley, and well happy for Chris Powell, who've stood on the sidelines and watched that dross, I'm just going to swear, dross for the last 18 months and get a swing at it.
I agree.
Really excited.
Yeah. Harry gets his medal.
So one last question that probably doesn't need answering.